All right, guys, it's Chris with Drop Dice. As many of you are figuring out as I talk here, my glorious beard is gone. Unfortunately, I've been job hunting, which is why my production has been a little bit slower lately. And until I find myself a new place of employment, the beard had to go. My piercings have to come out for interviews. So deal with the fact that I look really weird and about 10 years younger. I unfortunately have to wake up to that nightmare every day. You guys just have to deal with it in a video or two until I get back to growing out my beard. Um, that aside, today Saturday, community videos were being made, or discussed, I should say, for this week, and I decided to hold off on my community video until after some of those videos came out because I I don't mind starting positive conversations, but I feel like conversations that are a little bit more drama induced are not a good thing for me to be starting, but I will comment because I'm a vulture, if you would. um, but let me talk about what the hot topic for the week is, and that's pay to play. It's the mentality that comes mainly from the idea of like online games where I'm going to make this game, I'm going to charge a monthly subscription, and people are carrying that over to gaming. Now, this is where I think a lot of people have problems is the implementation. So, um, Legacy Gaming made a video that said that he didn't like it. He thought it was egotistical and things like that. And he and I hang out pretty much every other day, and we discuss stuff. And we've had a couple conversations about this because I have some experience using the pay to play mechanics. However, I do it a little bit differently than some of the other people. We'll get to that in a minute. But essentially, inside his video, he didn't agree with it. Thought it was kind of an egotistical thing to do. And one of the points that he brought up was, what if it was just a really terrible game? Do I get my money back? So pay to play is kind of such a weird thing because in this hobby, and Juice did a video actually, and this is why it's weird. Juice brings it up is a lot of times the GM doesn't really make the game. It's more the players make the game into something that you really love and enjoy. And it's such a team building thing to play D&D that it feels kind of weird to be like, okay, we're going to pay the DM for our game that really we're doing most of the work for. Because when you break it down, the DM does a ton of stuff behind the scenes. You guys have seen my world building videos. You've seen me do some adventure prep. You've seen other channels do that stuff. And, DMs and GMs work extremely hard, and they deserve all the praise that they get, or more than they get in some cases. But it seems kind of weird because everyone has a stake in making the game good, and if we're going to pay the GM, at some point it becomes a question of what are we doing for the players, and I'll get back to that in a second too. AJ Pickett made his video, and he said the main reason that he doesn't want to do it is because of the past with Don Forge Cast. It's left a bad impression on people. Now, I don't personally know Andrew from Don Forge Cast. I think my opinions of him may change if I was to get to know the guy personally or see him in a hangout for more than like 10 minutes. I know he's busy and has kids and stuff like that, but like I just have limited interaction with him, so I don't really feel like casting a whole lot of like opinion on his channel and his stuff. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to make sense of a guy when you haven't really met him yourself. So that's kind of why I say I have kind of mixed opinions, because it's, to me, it's like when I play a role-playing game, I can hear people's opinions and reviews on it. I can pick it up and read it, but until I actually go and play it, it's kind of hard for me to have a good solid opinion of the guy. So, I mean, that said, if Don Forgecast wants to shoot me a message sometime and, introduce himself, I'm open to it. It's not like I've cast judgment against your channel or the people that subscribe to your station. But unfortunately, I am going to bring up some of the stuff that you do during this video. So kind of bear with me. I mean, I'm pulling it directly from his Patreon account, which you guys can find on the description of any of his videos, to be honest. So you can check to make sure I'm not making things up. Now, one of the things that Juice brings up is the fact that for Dawnforge Cast, it's $1 to enter a chance to play hidden his games. Agreed. He's Juice is kind of condoning or admitting that that's a good way to do it. Like, basically, if to use an idea, I'm not sure how exactly Andrew does it, but let's say if I was doing it, the best way I could think to do it is maybe make a spreadsheet and have a random number generator produced through Excel. And basically, sorry, it's a little early for me, so I haven't had anything to drink. I really shouldn't start the day with Dr. Pepper, but that meh. But make an Excel spreadsheet, and let's say those Patreons that dip in $1. What we do is we set it up to where in the number range, they basically get 2 tickets for a raffle. And that's what the Excel spreadsheet does. I assume that this is how he does it because that's how I would do it. I don't know. But essentially, you know, if you don't support him, you get 1 ticket in the raffle. If you do support him, you get 2 tickets in the raffle. Now, he has different tiers of support, and I don't know if that necessarily means more tickets in the raffle. It could. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if that's the case. Where I think a lot of people are having problems is if you check out his Patreon and see the different tiers of support. The first tier, where you're guaranteed to play in a game with Andrew, is actually at $50 per month. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee that Andrew's going to be GMing the game. He's going to be in the game. And it's a once a month thing. And he sets aside some time for you guys. And it doesn't say how much time. So, I mean, the guy could be doing, honestly, like a good deal of setting aside time, working with the GM to kind of tailor his skills. And maybe that's why it's at the $50 mark. But it's just something that I'm not familiar with personally. So it's kind of hard for me to speak on what the exact value of that is. The next step up is $75 per month, which he runs will run a one-on-one session for you to help flesh out your character and have a great time. And you will be guaranteed to play in a campaign run by Dawnforge Cast himself. That's the $75 mark. At $100, you get to do, let's see here. You get a monthly chat without limits, and you get all the DMing help that you could ask for, is what it looks like, within reason, of course. Now, that one, it doesn't look like it guarantees a spot in games. I'm not sure if that's just maybe, let's see, playing of the game will be after the first month's pledge has been verified, though planning and discussion may start immediately. That seems to be the tagline for any of the $50 or more categories. The $100 or more does not seem to say if you get a spot at one of the gaming tables that he does or anything like that. But I think this is the part where people are having problems, because it feels like it's a reward system for somebody who buys their way in. And I hate to use the term pay to play because it doesn't feel like pay to play. In a pay to play mechanic, you pay a singular fee. Everyone pays that singular fee, and they get in, they enjoy the game. So if I look at Star Wars: The Old Republic, right now it's free to play, but when it first opened up, it was $14.99 per month as the monthly subscription. And basically what the producers of that game did is they took that income, and a portion of it went to, you know, pay for everybody's budgets or everybody's salary. And then another portion of it went to improving the game and changing things and adding quests and things like that. And I can see where the pay-to-play mechanic comes in. This is what the problem is. People aren't talking about pay-to-play. What they're talking about is pay-to-win. Nobody actually likes pay-to-win. Just talk to online communities that do that sort of thing. Games that will tell you, you know, it's free to play, but if you pay $14 a month, you get access to this special store, and you can get certain coins, but if you pay even more, you get these really legendary items that are unlocked and no level requirements or anything like that. This is the mechanic that they're actually talking about, is pay to win. So the idea that at $50, that's the win threshold. If I pay $50, I will win a game of with Dawnforge Cast regardless. I just have to be one of the limited slots that he has, which, you know, I'm glad to see there's limited slots because it could get out of control. I'm just looking at it from a GM side. So like he has 8 slots for that one, 4 slots for 75, and 3 slots for 100, or excuse me, 4 slots for 100. But essentially, you know, if I pay this much, I am guaranteed a seat. But if I pay this much, I'm guaranteed for him to GM. And if I'm paying this much, I'm guaranteed that it's going to be a one-on-one campaign, and he's going to spend hours kind of grooming me and teaching me the tricks of being a GM according to Andrew's philosophy. I think that's really where people have the problem. Now, let me talk about a little personal experience with the pay to play mechanic, and I'm saying this differently now that I've explained the two. When I was in Boston, I used to work for a game store. Well, indirectly work for a game store. Essentially, I ran their games, and their games had a $2 buy-in. Basically, the game store had it to where it was done as an event, and you're not charging for the Pathfinder game. Essentially, you're charging for access to the event. So essentially, you'd come in, you'd pay $2, and then that $2 would actually be given to you, or that $2 would be given, would get you a little ticket. The ticket you'd hand to the GM, which was me and another guy, and that $2 became store credit for us as GMs. Now, that meant, because this was a bookstore as well, I could have got myself anything I really wanted to, and it was kind of a pay mechanic. But what I did, because I thought it was a great opportunity, was Pathfinder puts out a book almost every other month. I have a pretty large selection of Pathfinder books that I got simply because players would show up every week, enjoy my game, give me the little tickets, and then I'd turn around and buy a book almost every time, almost immediately. As soon as a book came out, I always had the store credits for it to buy it immediately. And that was, and before I even got to the point that I had enough squirreled away store credits that I could do that sort of thing, I always made sure and did that because I wanted to present my game as professional, because people are paying for it. And I think it would be weird because we got to the point that we had 30 people in our gaming group, and only 2 GMs. Now, this is the reason why I think pay to play might be an okay idea. When I first started there, I was a player with the other GM, and we got to about 15 people, and he said, "Okay, this is getting a little out of control. We need to see if we can get a different DM." And there were other people at the table with DMing experience, but nobody wanted to do it. Nobody really wants to DM. Ultimately, there are people who really love DMing. I'm one of those people, but I love to play as part of my DMing track as well. So like for me, I have a basic philosophy. If I don't play at least one game, I won't DM any games. And maybe that's selfish, but like I like playing games as much as I like running games. I don't know. I don't think it's selfish, but it's just me. So I could be egocentric in my opinion there. But essentially, the $2 that we got, we all turned around and bought better things for the game. So like, you know, Joe comes to your game. Joe doesn't have a miniature. I personally like painting miniatures, and I think Joe's been doing a great job. So as a player, so me as a GM, I go and buy the miniature. I already own paints and stuff like that. I sit down and paint his character with like a good quality Reaper Mini that cost me like $10. And then I go, "Hey, Joe, man, you've been doing a really great job. I've been giving you hero points, inspiration, whatever you want to call them. But I wanted to say, you know, last week you did just a phenomenal job. You really brought the team together. You guys accomplished the quest. You took down the Dark Wizard. I just want to say my thanks. Here's a personalized token." And, you know, like doing stuff like that for my players really made the game feel worthwhile, because I felt like they could directly see how their money was going to help and support things. Now, this is one of the things that I think Andrew does correctly is, if you've watched his videos from early on and forward, and like I said, I've seen his videos and I like some of his content, so I have kind of a mixed opinion about him personally, because I think he does a lot of good content as far as like instructional videos goes. You can see his progression, like from when he started a Patreon account to getting a new microphone, getting a new camera, being able to improve the lighting inside his room instead of using like the chandelier lighting like I am. Which I do have some stage lights, but my wall is so close to the back of my desk that it's just not practical. Or not stage lights, but photography. Excuse me, photography lights. But you can see where he's improving things on his channel. Now, he has been afforded a chance to be able to make more money than he necessarily needs to funnel into his channel. So now it goes to kind of offset some of his personal costs. Like if he takes a day off from his family, you know, at least he's justifying it by saying, hey, I'm getting a paycheck because I'm spending 8 hours today doing 4 hours of prep with one guy, and then I've got a game tonight for another 4 hours. That's 8 hours gone. And essentially he's getting paid for a job. And I'm fine with that sort of thing. I don't know that I would personally go down that path of doing the Patreon ranks like the way he did, but I can kind of see why he's doing it. Because it is paying him for his time ultimately. And as an artist and as a person who does games and stuff like that, I know that there's a lot of investment in things like that, being creative. And I can tell you that when I go through a streak where I'm doing a lot of paintings and stuff like that, I come home and I'm exhausted, probably more so than just going to work, to be honest. And, you know, it'd be nice to maybe see a paycheck once in a while for some of my paintings, but that's a whole different thing. But ultimately, what I'm getting at is, I think maybe it's just me with having a problem with terminology again, because apparently me using the term munchkin last time was a little bit of a big deal, because I said power gamers are fine, but munchkins who are breaking the rules to get their own distinct gamist advantage was a big deal for people. Maybe my turn of phrase is not appropriate, but I think it's what defines what people's problem is the pay to win mechanic of it. Like, I think if you told people, hey, so for Drop Dice, let's say I have over 2,000 subscribers and my time is getting eaten up because I'm doing subscriber games and things like that. So let's say, you know, I turn around and I go, hey, $5 gets you a raffle ticket for this game. I think that's fine. Where it becomes a problem is when I go, okay, $5 gets you a raffle ticket, but if you pay me 50, you're guaranteed. I don't know. I like the idea of fair play type of things. I mean, if you wanted to make it fair play and stuff like that, instead of saying $50 gets you a guaranteed seat, I would maybe say instead, you know, if $5 is one ticket, $50 is 10 tickets, and it just increases your odds. That way you're still fair to everyone, but, you know, if you pay in more, you have a greater chance, just like a raffle. Like I said, I don't know, maybe it's just coming from the point of view that I'm at, but I think it's good to take any of those funds that are gained and improve your overall process, your game, your channel, however it may be. So so long as that continues to be the ultimate goal for monetization, I'm not really opposed to it. I think personally, I don't want to go through the monetization process because well, I've worked as a bartender, in which case you are self-employed, and when you're self-employed and you go to do taxes every year, it's kind of a pain. So I've kind of decided that to avoid the pain of taxes, I'm just generally not interested in doing a self-employed monetization type thing for my channel. So that's why you guys don't see commercials on my channel. You don't see any ads other than the ones that Squarespace puts onto my website. But I try to keep it all to a minimal because I don't want the headache once a year. That's the short answer on it. I've talked about it before. I think I may do some sort of merchandise in the future, but to get you an idea of what that's going to be for, since I'm talking about this pay to play versus pay to win thing, like my personal views, I would use it for stuff like, okay, I've got a good camera now, but I'm still using a headset, which I would love to have an actual microphone. In fact, the one that I'm looking at is the AT2020, but it's a little expensive, but I think the sound quality is worth the price. So any sort of t-shirt sales or anything that I did like that would go towards that sort of thing. I'm not saying that I'm going to do that right away. I've kind of been discussing it, going back and forth on it. I think I'm going to talk to some people that have stores of their own before I necessarily make that decision. But yeah, ultimately, I think it comes down to the phrasing on that, $50 gets you a guaranteed seat. Now I can see it from the other point of view. If I pay $50, I should be in this game, kind of thing. But I don't know. It's such a touchy subject. Like Juice brought up that we pay athletes to play games essentially, and I can agree to that, and that's why I don't necessarily find a problem with the pay to play mechanics. But unless there's a reason, the pay to win scenario didn't really come up in sports until much later. Like old baseball games, you would pay 10 cents or whatever the ticket price was, and that didn't necessarily get you a better seat when baseball first started off. It got you into the stadium. And it's one of those things that instead of starting off with this idea that everybody gets a free or an equal chance kind of thing, it's coming in with the idea that if I pay more, I get better seats, that kind of concept. And I don't know, it feels early to really be doing that, especially when that's kind of the policy right out of the gate for your Patreon. But maybe that's just an opinion. I think ultimately what it comes down to with this stuff is, if you do not feel comfortable with what services are being rendered or not rendered in your opinion, then you don't have to pay for it, of course. Like, I think me personally, I like the idea of the swag stuff a little bit better because then you get something back out of the deal, and it's a little bit more direct of a response. If you do your Patreon and funnel back into your channel, back into your games, back into improving your process, I think you're good. I don't see a problem with that. And I mean, ultimately, eventually, like I said, you'll get to the point where you are at Andrew level and you have a little bit extra and it helps pay some bills. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's kind of my general opinion on this one. This video went a little bit longer, but I felt it needed a little bit more justification than just yes, no, it's okay kind of thing. Speaking of which, SR2 Joker did a hilarious video with his response to the overall topic, and you should definitely check it out. I'll be adding links to all of those videos in the cards of this video, which, let me see if I can get this right. Nope, that one. That corner will be the cards for the other videos, and I'll have them pop up throughout this video as far as the links go. And I should be back later today. I've got a couple job interviews that I have to get ready for right now, but I should be back later today doing a world building video. I think this week I'm going to be talking about Providence just to kind of change things up, and I'll talk about why in the next video. As far as that goes, thanks for tuning in, guys, and as always, I will see you at the gaming table.